to my YouTube channel. So today's lecture, actually yesterday we have been discussing in our last lecture number 4, you could say, we have been discussing who united Anglo-Saxons kingdom. So today's our lecture is about Anglo-Saxons were famous for. Let me tell you, Anglo-Saxons were known as in Old English Anglo-Saxons, shaped much of English literature, English culture, English identity, descended from hodgepodge of German peoples who migrated from different parts of Britain, you could say, and they inhabited the ruled territories in England and Wales for 6 countries. As I have mentioned you earlier, that what were the Wales for 6 countries. In upcoming videos, I will also tell you something more about this. Afterwards, what is the other name for Anglo-Saxon language? Now, Old English language, Anglo-Saxons or Old English was very different from the modern English that you can see today. The language flourished in England until Norman conquest. Norman conquest was an event that was held in 1666, where the King Norman the Conqueror was died childless, and it happened in 1066. In our upcoming video, we will also discuss it. It's a huge topic itself. When French became for a time language of court and literature. Before English, French was also language of court and literature, and it claimed to be international language of the world, German and French. But there are some of evidence that denies it as well. But many of evidence grants it that French was. Afterwards, who are the most Anglo-Saxons or most famous Anglo-Saxons? King Alfred the Great, as many of you know, if you are familiar with the English literature, you might have listened the name of Alfred the Great. Is the most famous and celebrated for all Anglo-Saxon kings. His statue stands at the heart of a number of southern English towns, villages where he has born over 1,000 years ago, Ventures where he was bred, and let me tell you one more thing, Posse, and the Shaftesbury, where he also had strong personal connections. Actually, there are some of evidences that I have mentioned it here. These evidences also shows the presence that King Alfred the Great was there, and there are some of evidences that I have mentioned. You could see it as well. Who are the poets of Anglo-Saxons period? Is I have already mentioned Cadman and some rest of the poets' names, but I'm going to elaborate some more over here. Two known poets from this period are Cadman, considered first English Christian poet, Ken Senwolf. Old English poetry has survived almost entirely for manuscripts, and these scripts were Exeterbook and Junior's manuscript, was Silly book, and the Beowulf manuscript. There are the 4 scripts that I mentioned. Poetry could be found in these 4 of them, and Beowulf is the most popular among all of these. Afterwards, what is the name of the best known Anglo-Saxon story? One of the most famous stories written in Old English of a boy called Beowulf. We don't know much about the Anglo-Saxon author who wrote the story of Beowulf because it was anonymous and pseudonymous. Therefore, originally compiled, okay, who wrote Anglo-Saxons? Originally compiled order of King Alfred the Great and ordered by generations of anonymous or pseudonymous authors. You could say it means the author was unknown. An Anglo-Saxon chronicle narrates the history of England from Anglo-Saxons as far as Naki. As I have mentioned you earlier about this as well, and that the history of English literature, Old English literature, was mostly concerned with first prose writer named by King Alfred the Great, who claims to be King Alfred the statue as well. I have discussed in past videos with detail, and in upcoming videos, I will also tell you something more about this. and it is a whole topic itself as well. Afterwards, if you have forgotten to subscribe my channel, do it. Thank you.